HOA Karen mocked widow's military uniform didn't know the mom is a federal judge. The summer sun blazed over Willow Creek, a tidy suburban enclave where picket fences gleamed and HOA rules reigned supreme. Karen Whitaker, the self-appointed queen of the neighborhood association, patrolled the park with a clipboard, her eyes sharp for any violation. Today, her target was Ellen Harper, a quiet widow who'd moved in 6 months ago. Ellen, still raw from losing her husband, Captain Daniel Harper, in combat, stood by the park's memorial fountain. She wore his military uniform, its crisp lines a tribute to his sacrifice, a folded flag tucked under her arm. It was Memorial Day and she'd come to honor him. Karen spotted her from across the green. "Excuse me," she barked, striding over, her voice cutting through the hum of cicadas. "That uniform is inappropriate. This is a family park, not a costume parade." Her words dripped with disdain, loud enough to draw stares from picnickers. Ellen froze, her fingers tightening on the flag. "It's my husband's," she said softly, her voice trembling. "He died serving." Karen scoffed, tossing her blonde bob. "Serving? Please. It's tacky and it's scaring the kids. Take it off or leave." A murmur rippled through the growing crowd. Ellen's face flushed, but she stood her ground, her grief hardening into resolve. "I'm honoring him," she said, louder now. "You don't get to decide what that looks like." The argument escalated, Karen's voice rising to a shrill pitch. "This is my park. I make the rules." She jabbed a finger at Ellen, who stepped back, clutching the flag like a shield. The crowd thickened, phones out, recording the spectacle. Among them was a woman in a tailored blazer, her silver hair pulled back, watching silently. Nobody noticed her, not yet. Karen's tirade grew uglier. "You're disrespecting this community with your sob story," she snapped. "Widow or not, you don't belong here." The words hit Ellen like a slap, her eyes welling up. A teenage boy, unnoticed until now, pushed through the crowd. It was Jake, Ellen's son, his face pale with fury. "Stop it!" he shouted, his voice cracking. "That's my dad's uniform. You don't know anything." The crowd gasped, and Karen faltered, but only for a moment. "Control your kid," she sneered, "or I'll call security." That's when the woman in the blazer stepped forward. The air shifted, as if the park itself held its breath. "Enough," she said, her voice low but cutting through the noise like a gavel. Karen spun around, ready to unleash her venom, but froze. The woman's presence was undeniable, calm, authoritative, unyielding. "I'm Judge Margaret Ellison," she said, her eyes locked on Karen. "And Ellen Harper is my daughter." A collective gasp swept the crowd. Karen's face drained of color. She stammered, "Two didn't know," but Margaret raised a hand, silencing her. "You mocked a widow's tribute to her husband, a man who died for this country," she said, each word deliberate. "You humiliated her in front of her son and this community, and you did it without a shred of decency." Karen's clipboard slipped from her hands, clattering to the ground. The crowd was silent now, phones still rolling, capturing every second. Jake stood beside his mother, tears streaking his face, but his chin lifted with pride. Ellen, still clutching the flag, looked at her mother, gratitude and pain mingling in her eyes. Margaret turned to the crowd. "This isn't just about one woman's cruelty," she said. "It's about what we value. Ellen wears this uniform to honor a sacrifice most of us can't fathom. And yet she's shamed for it. By someone who claims to speak for community." Her gaze returned to Karen, who seemed to shrink under it. "You've abused your power, Ms. Whitaker. I suggest you reconsider what leadership means." The twist came then, sharp and unexpected. A man in a faded jacket stepped forward, his voice rough but steady. "I saw Captain Harper die," he said. The crowd turned. It was Tom, a homeless veteran who often lingered near the park, ignored by most. "I served with him. He saved my life." His eyes met Ellen's, and she gasped, recognizing him from Daniel's stories. "That uniform isn't just cloth. Tom said, glaring at Karen. It's his legacy. You don't get to spit on that. The crowd erupted in murmurs, some nodding, others wiping tears. Karen, cornered, muttered an apology and fled, her heels clicking on the path. But the damage was done. Ellen sank to her knees, Jake beside her, both enveloped by Margaret's steady embrace. Tom lingered, then slipped away, his role in the story brief but seismic. As the sun dipped lower, the park emptied, but the weight of the moment lingered. Ellen's tribute, Karen's cruelty, Margaret's justice, and Tom's revelation had cracked open something raw in Willow Creek. The memorial fountain bubbled softly, a quiet witness to it all. Days later, the video of the confrontation went viral. Comments poured in, some defending Ellen's right to honor her husband, others decrying Karen's entitlement. The HOA board quietly removed Karen from her position, but the scars remained. Ellen didn't return to the park. She and Jake moved to a quieter town, where she could grieve without judgment. Margaret, ever the judge, pushed for community reforms, but her heart ached for her daughter's pain. Tom, the forgotten veteran, became a local legend, though he never sought the spotlight. The story of Willow Creek wasn't just about a clash in a park. It was about grief weaponized, power misused, and the quiet strength of those who carry loss. It asked who gets to define honor and who pays the price when it's trampled. The ending was bitter, not because justice wasn't served, but because it couldn't undo the hurt. Ellen's tribute, meant to heal, had become a battleground. And Karen, in her ignorance, had lost more than her title. She lost her place in a community she thought she owned. What do you think? Where does justice end and compassion begin in a story like this?